Believe it or not, when I undertook to look at Cyberpunk 2077 alternatives and games featuring law-centric gameplay, Judge Dredd didn't even cross my mind as a potential option.
You're going to jail, punk. Ignorance of the law. 6 months, ISO cubes.
That's my bad. I knew the judges served as a personification of the entire legal system, but I didn't think it would really be part of a video game. If you're scared of books of all type like I am, then you're only familiar with the Judge Dredd movies. Sly Stallone as the titular judge in 1995's Judge Dredd was just as quirky and belligerent as you would expect. On the other hand, Karl Urban in 2012's Dredd was a stoic, raspy-voiced badass with a sense of humor that died sometime around the fall of Rome. Law-centric? Yeah. A cyberpunk alternative, though? The key here is the comics. Judge Dredd, Dredd vs. Death, is based on the universe from the 2000 AD comics, which feature AI robot rebellions and some supernatural elements we'll discuss in a bit. Suffice it to say, it counts from my perspective. There aren't any neural upgrades or anything like that, but it's not like Dredd needs that sort of sissy stuff anyway.
Oh really? Sarcasm directed at a judge. 3 years ISO cubes, scumbag.
Anyway, please be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy this. It's free for you and it really helps a small channel like mine. Also be sure to check out my full commentary playthrough of Judge Dredd, Dredd vs. Death if you're curious. For those unfamiliar with Dredd lore, the Judge Dredd comic universe is mostly set in Mega City 1, a huge city on the eastern seaboard of North America. The world has basically gone to crap. Okay, even more to crap, following a nuclear war in 2070. In Mega City 1, law is administered by judges who serve as jury, executioner, and yes, judge, out on the streets. Dredd vs. Death is a first-person shooter from 2003 set in Mega City 1. Those familiar with Judge Dredd will appreciate the details such as the different ammo types for your weapon, having Anderson as your psychic sidekick, and a quirky sense of humor that really works. There are some really great gags you'd miss if you're not listening to the ambient announcements.
Welcome to the Mega Mall. Feeling empty inside? Why not fill the void with a series of unnecessary purchases?
In this city, justice comes at a price. That price is freedom.
Attention, all staff and patients. Evacuation of the Clooney Medical Center is now in progress. All terminal patients are requested to stay in their beds. I mean, what's the point?
So at this point, we've got a dystopian cyberpunk future where you play as judge, jury, and executioner. By golly, how perfect for the channel! But then, you know, vampires, zombies, and ghosts. Yeah. So the comics are quite a bit different than the movies. There's no surprise there. If you ever get a chance, be sure to check out the Wanted graphic novel at some point and compare that with the movie. Yeah. That was something. Also, if you liked the I Am Legend movie featuring Will Smith, be sure to read the short story on which it was based at some point. Suffice it to say, the title takes a bit of a different meaning. And if you've seen the Will Smith I Am Legend movie, be sure to check out the Charlton Heston flick, Omega Man, which is based on the same story.
Time to shut your mouth. Discussion of other intellectual property during a Judge Dredd analysis. 2 weeks ISO cubes.
Fine. As usual, I won't spoil the story, but suffice it to say you're regularly fighting against zombies and vampires in addition to your standard organized crime baddies. I had no idea what I was getting into, and if you're interested in this as well, I won't say any more so you can experience it like I did. However, if you're really curious but don't want to deal with playing an older game, check out my playthrough. I meet the vampires in the first video and the timestamps are in the description. Now the legal side of things comes from a law meter shown throughout the gameplay and a judge ranking at the end of each mission. Despite this being a run-and-gun FPS, your judge ranking rewards arresting perps rather than just shooting the crap out of everybody. However, pretty much nobody surrenders and is willing to be arrested at first, so a few bullets to the knees always helps encourage perps to surrender, so, you know, you do what you gotta do.
You son of a bitch. Divulging confidential judge tactics. 25 years ISO cubes.
Now, as you can likely see, the graphics don't hold up, but I think the art does. This isn't a pretty game, and probably wasn't when it was released, to be frank, but Mega City 1 isn't pretty. The bad guys aren't pretty. Judge Dredd's chin isn't pretty. It's not supposed to be pretty, and I think it still works well enough.
Sarcasm directed at a judge. Second offense. 10 years ISO cubes. Disparaging comments regarding a judge's elegant chin. 2,000 years ISO cubes. We're gonna throw away the key.
Ultimately, there are some ways that you can get it to play in widescreen and whatnot, but I didn't deal with any of that. I just played it in its vanilla Steam version. My primary problem with the game was getting lost a few times during the levels. There wasn't a map or a clear indication of where to go for objectives sometimes. Ultimately, it wasn't a huge problem, but I spent more time than should have been necessary to figure out simply where to go. I had a really good time with this. It was truly unexpected, and it introduced me to a Judge Dredd universe I never knew existed. It was definitely worth the $2 I spent on it during a Steam sale. Well, I'd better move on before Dredd executes my fuzzy ass for loitering.
Public use of foul language. 40 years ISO cubes, scumbag.